Going into our Spotlight wildcard matchups. We cannot wait. We're going to be previewing the 3 games taking place on Sunday, but before we do, we're going to take a look at this weekend's playoff picture. Here we go. On Saturday, we've got the 5-seed Raiders visiting the 4-seeded Bengals. That's going to be taking place at 4:30 Eastern, followed by the Patriots, who are the 6th seed, visiting the 3rd-seeded Bills at 8:15 Eastern. Then on Sunday, we've got the 7-seed Eagles taking on the 2-seed in the NFC, that of course being the Bucs. That game will be in Tampa at 1 Eastern. After that game will be the 49ers sitting in the 6th spot in the NFC, taking a trip to Dallas to take on the 3-seed and the Cowboys at 4:30 Eastern. And wrapping up the night, of course, is some Sunday night football. That will be the 7th-seed Steelers, making one more appearance at Arrowhead this season to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, who sit at 2nd in the AFC. That game will be at 8:15 Eastern. And last but not least, we've got a Monday night treat that will consist of the 5th-seeded Cardinals heading to LA to take on the 4-seeded Rams. That, of course, being at 8:15 Eastern. Let us go, Arky. Cannot wait for all of these games. Which one are you most looking forward to before we get to our picks?
Oh, Cowboys-Niners. Come on now.
Of course. Should have known. All right, well, we're going to start out with that Eagles-Bucs game. Eagles are 9-8, 6-3 at home. They visit the Buccaneers, who are 13-4, 7-1 at home. Right now, Tampa Bay is the 8.5-point favorite with a total here at 46. Both of these teams are coming in 4-1 in their last 5. The Bucs got that big win over the Panthers in their regular season finale, while the Eagles took an L to Dallas at home, 51-26. But granted, the team did rest a lot of key players. As far as head-to-head goes, the Bucs did get the win over the Eagles at Lincoln Financial on October 14th, 28-22, making it their 3rd straight win over Philly. Actually, the Eagles haven't gotten a win over the Bucs since 2013 and are 10-10 all-time and 6-6 when playing Tampa Bay. Sorry, had to. This will be the 5th time these two will meet in the postseason. The last time was 19 years ago, back in 2002, that saw the underdog Bucs upset the Eagles 27-10. And finally, historically, the Eagles are 7-13 when playing on the road in a playoff game. And unfortunately, I think that's going to move to 7-14 after this weekend. So, Arky, with all that said, what will you be doing in this first game up on Saturday? Sunday.
The last time that they played, the Eagles covered. They covered the spread there. I think it was 7 or 6.5, and they lost by 6.
Yes.
So, and that was partly because of a really bad decision by Tampa Bay. For me, because I had Tampa Bay. When it comes to, I think after a touchdown, they went for an extra point instead of for 2, which would have extended what Philadelphia needed to get the game. Regardless of all of that, this game itself is going to be really interesting because it's the number 1 rush offense in the NFL in Philadelphia against one of the top 3 rush defenses in the NFL in Tampa Bay. But I think if Philadelphia is going to be in this game, they have to limit the possessions of Tom Brady. And I think no matter what the numbers say, they're going to have to pound that rock, and they are going to have to try to control the time of possession. And it's going to help them that we're looking at about 80% chance of rain in Tampa during the game, 20-mile-per-hour winds. I know Tom Brady's been through this stuff before, but the Eagles, if they're going to have a chance, if Nick Sirianni and company want to be able to keep this game close and get it to the 4th quarter, they're going to have to hope for more rain, and they're going to have to hope for, obviously, that their running game gets going. The Eagles are actually the only team in the playoffs that have 2 players averaging over 5 yards a carry. In fact, Miles Sanders, one of those 2 players, is averaging over 6 since he's come back from his injury. That's got to be the focus on this team because this Bucs team is just depleted injury-wise over the last several weeks, and they're starting to get back a little healthier, but they aren't impossible to beat, clearly. So I think this is going to be a close game. But if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do not get off to a hot start, let's just say, and they aren't able to sort of push the Eagles to the side early, which I don't think they'll be able to, I feel like this is going to be a close game for all of it. I feel like it's going to be a tight ball game. Maybe you get a backdoor cover midway through the 4th quarter, but I don't see that sort of happening. Philadelphia, if they can dominate the time possession, which of the 4 losses this year, 2 times they've been dominated by time possession, and 3 of those times they've lost time possession for Tampa Bay. That's the key, I think, to being able to beat Tom Brady and this team, is be able to run the ball, keep possessions away from Tom Brady. I think they do that. I don't know, and I don't think they'll win the game. but I do like the ability for them to keep fewer possessions for Tom Brady, which means fewer points, I think, in the game overall. So for me, the play is under 46 this weekend.
All right. I wish I looked at the weather forecast before I took the over in this one. That would have been helpful. Good job, Kayla. All right. Well, as you mentioned, a lot of guys questionable for both teams, but in these do or die games, I'm going to take a guess here and say most will play. Luckily for the Bucs, Gronk has stepped up in a big way after the team lost Chris Godwin and, of course, Antonio Brown 2 weeks ago. Gronk put up 100 receiving yards in each of the team's final 2 regular season games. Mike Evans also stepping up for Tampa, recording 10 catches for 136 yards and 3 touchdowns, also in the team's final 2 games of the regular season. The Eagles will come into this one with a well-rested Jalen Hurts, who sat out last week. Hurts is obviously a big weapon to this Eagles offense. Not only did he lead in passing, naturally, at over 3,100 yards this season and 16 touchdowns, but he also led the team in rushing yards at 784 with 10 TDs on the ground. Tampa Bay is 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 games, and get this, Philly is 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games against NFC South opponents. Interesting. As for the total, it has hit the over in 5 of the Bucs' last 7 games against the Eagles. I think, or I hope in this game, that it'll be closer than the spread suggests. I do think the Bucs will come out on top, obviously, but I'm going to take the Eagles here, Arky, at plus 8.5. Like I said at the top, their last game was by a difference of 6 points. I know they are on the road, but they do travel fairly well, so there's that. I also like the over here. This will probably be the only total I feel somewhat decent about taking this weekend, considering it is in Florida. But as you mentioned, weather is going to be a factor with rain and wind. So I'm still going to have to take the over because I already said I would. So give me the Eagles at plus 8.5 and give me the over. We'll see what happens.
It's not possible. The Eagles can sprint through some points too. Like, they've got some big playability. Like, Devontae Smith's amazing. So, like, that kid can catch the ball and run with it. Like, this Eagles team can score, no problem.
Absolutely, absolutely. Plus, Florida weather's unpredictable. It'll probably blow over by game time, right?
It is. I haven't been to Florida once for more than a day where I didn't get some kind of rain.
Exactly. It's a daily occurrence there. So
yeah.
All right, moving right along to 49ers, who are 10-7, 6-3 on the road, visit the Cowboys, who are 12-5, 5-3 at home. Right now, Dallas is the 3-point favorite with the total sitting at 51. First of all, these two have never faced each other in a wild card playoff game. That is crazy. And Arky, I'm stealing your fun little fact here. This will be the first playoff matchup between two teams that have won 5 Super Bowls each. In total, these two teams have met 37 times throughout NFL history, where the Cowboys lead the series 19-17-1. Their last meeting was just last season, and the Cowboys took that game 41-33. As far as playoffs go, they have met a total of 7 times. The Cowboys also leading that series 5-2. However, that last playoff matchup was 27 years ago on January 15th, 1995, where San Francisco came out on top 38-28. Obviously, these two teams were a couple of powerhouses back in the 90s and beyond, so it's going to be fun to watch these two long-standing NFC rivalries get back in the spotlight this weekend. Arky, how will you be playing this one on Sunday that involves your team, and some would argue America's team, and another one that I don't think is going to be that easy of a pick?
Oh, this is an easy pick for me. Easy peasy, baby. I got the Cowboys -3 in this one. Now, here's the thing I think I find the most fascinating about it is that I don't think it's just me being super homer dog. Mm-hmm. I think that there is a big chance that the Cowboys win by double digits in this game, and here's why.
Okay.
As stated next. Are you ready? Would you
ready.
like some notes? Are we
Hit
ready?
me.
Here we go. So, Jimmy Garoppolo has been very good at times for San Francisco. In fact, obviously, they used a lot of him to come back and be able to get to the playoffs after their comeback win last week. But Jimmy Garoppolo is a turnover machine at times. 4 straight games the 49ers have turned the ball over. He's got 2 straight games with 2 interceptions. And the Cowboys, they feast on takeaways. They are the #1 team in the NFL when it comes to takeaways. #1. And this defense statistically may not look great as far as the rushing yards and passing yards allowed. It may be in the 15 to 20s, and that sort of scares some people off. But they are opportunistic, and they grab turnovers, and they've got players like Diggs and Parsons and Lawrence who are all monsters to sort of deal with for the duration of a fourth quarter game. So that would concern me if I'm a San Francisco fan. Also a concerning thing if I'm a San Francisco fan is that when the Niners go on the road, they allow opposing quarterbacks to complete 69 percentage of their completions. 69% of their passes on the road. That's deplorable. That is awful. That is why I think the Cowboys are going to use this game as a take whatever the freaking Niners are going to give you type game. Dak Prescott is going to throw for a bunch in this game, and he's going to have to, I think, to be able to consistently win. Now, if they can find a way also, this is how I think it could happen. If they find a way to limit somehow Deebo Samuel in this game, they will crush the 49ers. Because Deebo Samuel is damn near all the offense for Jimmy Garoppolo. In fact, he's 35% of the receiving yards for Jimmy Garoppolo, which is the highest, or the second highest in the NFL, only behind Cooper Kupp, which we'll see on Monday night. So you talk about a potential boom or bust game. This could be a big bust time if the Cowboys can slow Deebo Samuel, which has been really hard to do, and are able to keep Dak Prescott in check with not making big turnovers. And I don't think he will in this game because the 49ers have only had 9 interceptions in the entire season. They've played 17 games. That's not a bunch. All right? Yeah. That's not that impressive of a team. So give me the Cowboys -3. All them facts are in front of you. And if you go the other way, you're betting your money away. So Cowboys -3.
All right, I like that. I'm going to start with San Francisco here. Despite a team that was banged up for much of the season, their offense ranks 7th in NFL in total yards, as well as rushing, while the defense ranks 3rd in total yards allowed, 6th in passing yards allowed, and 7th in rushing yards allowed. Even though Jimmy Garoppolo has that banged up thumb, the 49ers adjusted nicely by keeping the ball on the ground, which has worked well. Luckily for both worked well for them, and luckily both Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel, as you mentioned, seem to be healthy and ready for some playoff action. They, of course, will be going up against this Cowboys team who is very much firing on all cylinders themselves. In the regular season finale, the Cowboys put up 50 points against a division rival this for the second time this season. Again, Eagles rested players. It is what it is. The Cowboys offense ranks 1st among the NFL in points and total yards, putting them at 2nd in passing yards and 9th in rushing yards. Dak Prescott finishing the regular season at 7th in passing yards at over 4,400 and tied for 4th in touchdowns at 37. Don't sleep on this Cowboys defense, as you mentioned, who ranks 7th in points allowed. But the real kicker, again, I'm going to reiterate it, those turnovers, putting them at 1st with 8 fumble recoveries, Arky, and 26 interceptions. That is nuts. Woo! As for the trends, these are definitely some interesting ones. And their last 6 meetings between these two teams, the favorite is 4-1-1 against the spread. In those last 6, the 49ers are 1-4-1 against the spread. The Cowboys are 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 games that were played in January. And for the total, the over is 8-2 in their last 10 matchups together. But the under is 5-1 in the 49ers' last 6 playoff appearances. So with all of that said, these are two teams who had 2 games go into overtime this season. So if any of these games should do that, I'm banking on it being this one. I can see it getting into overtime. Who knows? But nonetheless, I'm going to be taking the Cowboys right there with you at -3. I would also lean the under, mostly due to those solid defenses that we talked about above. But you're welcome, Arky. Taking the Cowboys on Sunday.
Here's the other station. Now, the Cowboys are the number 2 team in the NFL in point differential at home. They're outscoring their opponents at home by 14.3 points per game.
Well, shoot.
Bank on it. Bank on it, girl.
Bank on it. Another team I'm going to be banking on, the Chiefs, who are, of course, playing the Steelers. KC is the 12.5-point favorite right now with a total at 46. Arky, we'll be waiting not just Sunday day, but all weekend for Sunday night. This, by all accounts, should be a layup for the Chiefs and is a nice little gift for not getting the number 1 seed, but sometimes that scares me even more. Even Ben Roethlisberger is counting on it being his last game when talking to the media this week. I just hope the Chiefs don't let their foot off the gas in any way and that nothing wonky happens. Of course, in their last matchup, the Steelers got worked in a 36-10 final just 3 weeks ago, and that was even without Nick Bolton and Travis Kelce, no less. Something that does make me feel good is the fact that the Chiefs have won 3 straight opening round playoff games and 6 of the last 8 postseason games. All right, and we're obviously looking to go back to a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. Prayers up. As we know, despite a lot of odds stacked against them, the Steelers won their last 2 regular season games and managed to wiggle their way into the postseason, making it their 14th playoff appearance in the last 21 seasons, although they haven't gotten past the first round since 2016. Arky, with all this said, how are you going to be playing this one?
So, Kayla, I've got news that's good and bad.
Uh-oh, hit me.
Here's the good news. The Chiefs will not struggle in this game. That's the good news for you.
Phew.
The bad news is I spent way too much time last night trying to figure out a way that the Steelers could keep this game close. And there is nothing in the entirety of the season, in the most recent games, in the numbers, there is nothing that suggests this team will be within 2 touchdowns by the time the game is over. I think you're safe for whatever the number is going to be for the first half spread. I think you're safe taking it for Kansas City because the Steelers literally don't score in the first half. They just don't. It's terrible. They're a terrible offensive team. They're terrible on the road scoring. They're terrible at home scoring. They're terrible in their last 3 to 5 games scoring, all season scoring. Like, it is an awful, awful, awful offense this season. They have piecemealed that game together, or this team together, to be able to be in the playoffs. Big Ben, I know, will be doing as much as he can to keep this team afloat.
Yep.
And that's nice, but he can't throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field. It is really, really sad to watch. In fact, if you go back and just look at some of his numbers, I think I was looking at his numbers against Kansas City where he had like 35 pass attempts for like 135 yards. Like that's impossible. That's borderline impossible to do if you're a modern quarterback. But that said, 12.5 is not enough in this game. I don't think it's a sneaky line. I think it's the only blowout we probably get this weekend. I just think Kansas City at home, they score pretty well. At home against, obviously, Pittsburgh, which we saw most recently scored pretty well. And Kansas City's outscoring teams at home by nearly by 8 points a game, nearly 9 points a game. I think it's obviously more for this matchup again. I feel bad for Big Ben that this has to be the team that he sort of goes out with. The team's not terrible. The quarterback kind of is. So Big Ben's going to go out with a playoff shot, and he's going to go out on the road to Kansas City. But he's going out, and he's going out sort of in flames. He can't throw. Najee Harris is their only real significant offensive threat, and Kansas City will be able to beat up on that. I'll take the minus 12.5. I don't usually love those double-digit spreads in the playoffs, but this is a pure mismatch.
Right there with you. I don't know what much more there is to say other than that if this KC team wants to win, they're going to find a way to, considering they did so last time by 26 in this little matchup. So I'm going to try not to get too worked up or overthink this one. The one thing that is slightly concerning is that the Chiefs' 2 leading rushers in Darrell Williams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are both currently listed as questionable. Andy Reid did say that everyone participated in practice, but those 2 specifically had a limited role. As for the trends, starting with the total, the over has hit in 4 of the Steelers' last 5 road games. The over has hit in the Chiefs' last 5 games. However, the under is 4-1 in the Chiefs' last 5 wildcard games. And for what it's worth, the game time forecast is going to be around 25 degrees at Arrowhead on Sunday. Note that when factoring in the total. Pittsburgh is 16-6-3 in their last 25 games that have taken place in January, while the Chiefs are 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 games this season. I had a really good thing going with the Chiefs spread for like 2 months until their game last weekend against Denver, but I'm just going to take it here. They're going to win, and I think they're going to do so by 12.5. I think the Steelers are going to put up a little more of a fight than last time around, but after all, it is the playoffs, so everyone's going to be playing their best. And because love is blind, I'm going to take them once again at minus 12.5. I don't think this is really that big of a risk, though, as some other games have been, especially against those divisional rivals. But not going to mess with the total here, but going to take the Chiefs at minus 12.5, Arky.
Yeah, you can like little pieces of Pittsburgh. You can like Najee Harris and T.J. Watt. That's fine. Just as a complete unit, like they're not very good. So I'm with you.